Matthew. I'm a sophomore here at Truman, and I am currently the vice president of the Truman State Animal Alliance, which we are looking to have our group obtain school recognition.
Hi everyone, I am Asa Tapa. I'm an international student from Nepal, and this is my first year here at Truman. I'm a freshman criminal justice major, and I stand as the president of Truman State Animal Alliance.
Yeah, and so first I wanted to give all of you a little bit more info about the reason our group exists and some of the types of activities that we currently do and are looking to do on campus. And so the purpose of our group is to make the Truman State community a more kind and compassionate community towards animals. And one important thing to note is this isn't just, cute, fluffy animals that I think all of us like cats, dogs, and whatnot, or even wildlife, but also farmed animals. We believe all animals are worthy of respect and deserve to be treated as such. And so the purpose of our club, there isn't necessarily one purpose, but three of the big things that we're looking to do is have this club be a social group for people who care about animal rights, for people who are vegan, for people who are vegetarian, and for anyone interested in learning more about these ideas of animal rights, veganism, vegetarianism, plant-based eating, and whatnot. We want to be a social group where people can come together. Additionally, we have an educational aspect of our group. We regularly conduct outreach events on campus to introduce students to these ideas of animal rights, plant-based eating, and whatnot, and talk to other students about these ideas to help educate our community further. And then we also have a mobilization aspect. So some of the things that we've been doing this semester are working with Sodexo to increase the vegan and vegetarian options that they have in the dining halls. And we had, for example, when they had their survey sent out, we got all of our signups to, take the survey and ask for more vegan and vegetarian options, and that's been super successful. Additionally, just meeting with them regularly to hold them accountable and make sure that they are being inclusive to all students and their various dietary needs. And then there's also other types of national and global animal rights campaigns and groups that our club can work with. And we can talk about that in a little bit. One really important thing to note, though, is that everyone is welcome regardless of their diet. So in our club, even if you're not a vegan or vegetarian, you're still absolutely welcome to come. We just ask that everybody be open to these ideas and respectful. And did you have anything to add?
Yeah, so we just want to promote the theme of this year, that is hate has no place here. That's what Truman State University says, and we're trying to become as compassionate as possible, reaching out to more people and introducing them about environment, how we could protect the earth, how we could be respectful to all types of animals. Although we love dogs and cats, we could, take steps. And besides that, it's not necessary that you should be vegan or you should, we totally respect your choice of food, but we are more than happy to, introduce you to a more compassionate and plant-based diet so that we can work more collectively. We would also be working alongside the Eco Club because more or less both of our intentions is regarding the preservation of Earth. So yeah, that's pretty much sharing compassion.
So that's the overall broader purpose of our organization. I know this sounds like we're talking about a lot of ideas and not a lot of concrete things we actually do. So we're going to be getting into some specifics. Technically, we aren't a national organization. There's no organization out there called the Animal Alliance organization that we're starting a chapter of. However, there are several national organizations that come alongside us and help us. One of them is PETA. They have a campus, they, for the past 2 years, have always had a representative on campus that works with them, they send supplies to, conduct outreach events. Right now, I'm currently the campus rep for PETA, and so they do a lot of work providing our club with stipends to buy activism materials. They send us guides and literature to hand out to people, and just provide regular coaching on how to start a good student group. And another organization that we've decided to work with is the Humane League. They are a coalition of different student groups who want to promote animal rights. And from the Humane League, they offer leadership coaching, campaign opportunities to work on like national campaigns like protests against cruelty in McDonald's, and the way they treat animals was their campaign this year. And also just general support, like more literature for our club to hand out, and leadership opportunities there. So while we aren't part of like any national chapter-based system, we do have a couple of organizations that we work with closely. And then some of the events that we either have done or really would like to do, but we can't because we're not a registered organization, are these examples that I put up here. So one of our regular events that we do are tabling and food giveaways. Give away things, hand out literature that talks about animal rights, that talks about switching to plant-based eating. That event, for example, we gave out products, sample beauty products that were cruelty-free, and gave away cruelty-free shopping guides. So people can make sure that when they're buying their products, they aren't testing on animals. We also have weekly meetings with our club. We would like to do on-campus promotion of our club just to reach a wider audience of people who don't necessarily know we're here. So things like chalking and putting up posters. Film screenings are another big thing that a lot of animal rights and vegan clubs do. There's a lot of awesome documentaries out there about animals, plants, and whatnot. And so one thing that we'd really like to do is host documentary showings that would just be like open to public for people to come in and watch those. And then the activities fair is also something that is really important for recruiting and finding new members. It can be a little hard to find as many new members when you're not in the activities fair, where freshmen and everybody's literally trying to find clubs to get involved with. And so all of these activities are examples of events and activities that really the activities our club wants to participate in, but because we aren't a recognized student organization, we either can't participate in them at all or are having trouble participating in them. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so actually we wanted to, we wanted to go around campus and then share about like how we can protect animals and preserve the ecosystem, but we cannot do that unless we are the club. So we tried reaching out to the Eco Club, and they were pretty flexible about it, that we could always share that, collaborate with them in the chalkings. So that's our purpose. Our purpose is like eco-friendly environment, sharing animal love, being compassionate. So only when the school recognizes us as club, we could actually get a platform through which we can voice out for the rights that we've been working to promote.
Yeah, and so one of the questions that we were asked is how are we going to make sure that our club has consistent membership, that it's not just going to be, the ones who are here now, and then next year the club's going to disappear off the face of the earth. So I think there's a couple of really important points we need to keep in mind. According to most surveys, they estimate that around 5% of the population is vegan, and that's not even just like vegetarian, but around 5% of the US population self-identifies as vegan. And so if you just do the math, that's around 300 people at Truman. And that may seem like, wow, that sounds like a lot of people. But that's actually consistent with what Sodexo estimates. When we've talked with them, they've said that around 5% of people in the dining halls are regularly choosing the vegan and vegetarian options. So we do know that there is a large community of Truman students out there who do eat plant-based diets, at least, who do care about the environment and plants and whatnot. And so with this population, we want to bring this population together. And so to ensure that we always have more members, one of the key parts of that is doing consistent recruitment of new members, not just once at the start of each semester, but every single table that we do is also a recruitment opportunity. So when students come up to our tables and say, hey, that's really cool, I'm vegan or vegetarian, we can either add them to the group chats we have, or take down their information so we can add them to our lists, regularly contact them, and not only just get their information, but follow up with the assignments that we do have. So whether it is texting them or emailing them to come to meetings, that's how we plan to retain members and keep our club consistently growing.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add?
Okay. Another question is, why is our club original? Is there a club on campus that already serves the needs of our club? And to be quite honest, the answer is no. We did look at the list of all the other recognized student organizations out there. There are clubs like ECO, True Outdoors, the Farm Bureau, Plants, the Wildlife Association, and these are clubs that there are opportunities to collaborate with them because we may share some of the same ideas and goals, but these are not animal rights clubs. For example, like the purpose of ECO isn't to advocate specifically for animal rights. They're to protect the environment. Plants, the Plants Club is a club of people who like plants. That's super fun, but it wouldn't be that wouldn't be the right space to bring in a whole bunch of vegans and turn it into an animal advocacy club. And so right now there is no current vegan, vegetarian, plant-based, or animal rights organization on campus. And so students who are interested in meeting up with people who share their same lifestyle are left without options on campus.
Yeah, so when I first came to campus, it was very hard for me because I thought that I was the only vegan. So everything was new to me as an international student. I didn't know how things worked. The food was already new to me, and I had a lot of health issues because I had nobody to talk to, nobody to reach out to. And then we met, and then we had this talk, and 4 of us that are constantly working to create this club. I've gotten a space where I could tell them, where we share the same issues. That way we were able to reach out to Sodexo, sit down with them, have our meeting, and have our say that this is not working. We want more options in the canteen. There are days that I go to the cafeteria and return back hungry because there's nothing vegan in cafeteria. So when we communicated our issues, when 4 of us girls came together and brought that issue at the table, they were able to add vegan options. Like they have vegan burgers added now. They are trying to improve more, and they say that every day they have new options, so you get to go and try and then give us the review. So that I think having a platform, having a club helps a lot of us that way, because I was not in a very good place mentally when I was not able to eat good, when I was not doing well in classes, and everything was new to me. The land is strange to me, the school is strange to me, and I was not having enough diet, but I had somebody to talk to. I had a community. We decided to go, and they are making improvements on the basis of that. So I think we need I feel the need to have like a group of people where we could talk our diet, because it's not that we don't have any vegans here, we do have, but since we need a club, or we need like a community where we could come together and talk. Had I not known about other vegans across campus, I would not have been able to reach to Sodexo, and I would not have been able to have the food that I'm having right now.
Another question is, how is our club going to benefit the broader campus community as a whole? And there isn't just one way that's going to benefit, there's a bunch of different ways. One of the main ones is diversity. College is a place for students from all different backgrounds to come and meet people with different ideas, backgrounds, and different lifestyles. And the vegan lifestyle is certainly a different lifestyle than a lot of people are probably used to. So having a recognized club of students who believe in things like animal rights and veganism definitely brings a lot of diversity to the different clubs already recognized on campus. Additionally, like Asta was just talking about, it does help our campus become a much more inclusive place. Not only is it a lot of times hard to eat in the dining halls, but a lot of times from our friends and from other people, you can get a lot of ridicule for standing up for your beliefs, for simply choosing to exist and be vegan and whatnot. And so having this space where we can all come together is really important. And even if we aren't a recognized club, I mean, we can still meet, but it's a lot harder for students to find us and to know that we exist if we aren't able to, be out there at the activities fair to promote ourselves on campus. Thankfully, there's some of us that know it exists, but we really want to make sure that everyone on campus knows that we exist, we are a club, and that we are here. Another benefit is education. There is a huge increasing interest in plant-based diets. Lots of restaurants are adopting, new meat-free burgers and whatnot, like Burger King just added the Impossible Burger to their menu. There's lots of new, vegan cheeses, vegan and plant-based foods coming out every single day because people in the US and people all across the world are finding more interest in things like plant-based eating and whatnot. And so we want our club to be a resource to students who are hearing about all these new, vegan and plant-based diets, and someplace where they can come learn more info about them. And so we do have those resources to educate students about veganism and plant-based diets. And then finally, it offers leadership in the animal rights movement. Leadership in general is a really important thing that students should have. Right now, though, students on campus, there really aren't any opportunities for someone who, say, wants to go work for PETA, work for a nonprofit that's focused in animal rights on campus. And so by having this club, if there are students who are thinking this is something they want to do in the future, something they want to explore, they'll have an opportunity to take on the leadership role in an animal rights organization on campus. Yeah, do you have anything to add about benefits? Okay. And then we do want to address some of the potential risks that our club can have and how we want to address those risks. So one of the main risks is physical risk. With our club, since we are talking about animal rights and plant-based diets, a lot of that risk will probably come from events with food and whatnot. And so it's really important to cook food in accordance with health and safety guidelines and be sure to label ingredients if you were to have a potluck or something, just so no one eats something that they're allergic to and they can't eat. And for large and potentially controversial events, just because sometimes people can have hostile reactions to the ideas of animal rights, if we were to have large events, definitely like any large event for any group, really just alert DPS beforehand so they can have staff member there and just be there in case anything were to happen. But as for physical risk in food, I just want to clarify that it's not risky to go around and be promoting plant-based eating because so many dietary organizations, for example, the largest dietary association in the world, the American Dietetics Association, has repeatedly said that vegan diets are safe for all stages of life. So just having a vegan club on campus, advocating for plant-based eating, is scientifically by people who are experts in dietary stuff and nutrition. They say it's safe. And then reputational risk. We want to make sure that we have a good image out on campus, and so a person who wants to be tabling with us, doing outreach events, we definitely want to make sure that they are an official member of the club, and we're not just going to bring in random people that we just met to come and advocate for our views. We want to make sure that people who are going to be doing events have the knowledge and are actually invested as part of our club. And additionally, the social media accounts we have, for example, are going to be restricted to the president, and then whoever the president decides can have access to those accounts, just so we avoid any problems with them and people hacking into them. For emotional risk, as we said, we do want this to be a place for students to come together because it often is emotionally hard being an animal rights advocate or just existing on campus as a vegan. And so these emotional risks are really going to exist whether or not you're a club, but like Ashley was talking about, these risks can actually be lessened by creating an official club and a space for vegans and everyone to come together. But we also think that it's important, specifically for our club, to just make sure that the counseling services contact information is available there and students know where to go in case they encounter any problems. And if we are doing a table, if we are doing an outreach event or a documentary where members may be uncomfortable, we're not going to force anyone who doesn't want to be a part of that to go, because we don't want our members to be uncomfortable and or unsafe. And then finally, the financial risk. Most of this will be dealt by the club treasurer, and there's lots of different fundraising possibilities, like doing bake sales, like lots of other organizations do, with the caveat that it's a vegan bake sale because that kind of goes along with the theme of our club. There's also online crowdfunding opportunities, and then just reaching out and contacting potential donors in the animal rights movement. And as we said, we do get additional resources and support from other organizations like PETA and the Humane League, who can provide us with stipends for events and send us materials if we were to need that. And then finally, for facilities risk, really this shouldn't be too tricky. The important thing is being good stewards and just returning all the rooms back to the condition that we found them in. And so we don't anticipate doing any large events with like open flames or anything that might potentially be dangerous to the university. So we just want to make sure that the rooms that we do use, tables that we do use, we keep them in good condition.
We have 17-ish minutes. We do have some standard questions that we're going to go through, but you have answered a decent amount of those. So for the committee, we're going to start with question 2. We're going to do 2, 3, 5, 8, and 10. And then we can do additional questions after that. So I know you want to go back to your purpose slide where you had kind of have your events.
What's the events or purpose?
Well, both actually. Can you kind of describe the timeline of these events? Are these 1 or 2 years out? Are these 5+ years out? And how will these events and these plans carry out once you two graduate or move on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the timeline of these events really depends on the event itself. So, for example, a film screening is something we would plan a couple months out beforehand because we would need to contact, the organizations that can get us the rights to show these films on campus legally, reserve the rooms, and do promotional materials for those events. Larger events like those, for example, film screening, that was something we were talking about at the beginning of the semester. It hasn't happened because we can't reserve a room for it. But usually at the start of the semester, our club brainstorms ideas, and then towards this part of the semester, we're brainstorming ideas that we might want to do next semester. So that's when most of the ideas and planning starts to take place. For a table or giveaway, that's a less ambitious thing than something like a film screening, and so those really only take, I'd say, a month of planning out if you need to reserve a room in the sub, or even just a couple weeks out to gather the supplies and get the volunteers. And in order to make sure that these events and things still happen after we graduate, the main thing is making sure that we're continually training new leaders. For example, I know Alpha is a freshman student, and she's already in a leadership position, and so just giving the new students that we recruit, giving them a title, getting them involved in our club, having them see how the club kind of works, and continually putting younger people in those positions of leadership is how we plan to make sure that the events are going to actually continue after all of us have graduated.
What's the total number of individuals that you consider to be part of your organization, and how many people have you contacted to be a part of your organization?
I don't necessarily know that number off the top of my head. I'd say we have 30-something individuals on our email list and text list right now. Those of us who have been involved in this part, making sure that we are a recognized student group on campus, there's really the four of us who are on the executive board. So treasurer, president, vice president, treasurer, and then our social media director. So there's 4 main people on the executive board right now. There's how many people are in the group chat?
There are around 30.
Yeah, around 30 in the group chat, and then roughly that same amount on our email list.
Josh, do you want to ask number 5?
Yes. How does an individual become a member, and what does member initiation look like?
Yeah, so I actually have a sample constitution written here. The membership process is not as we did say,
Yeah, it's logged in as.
okay, well, it's okay. The membership process isn't a, long, difficult initiation process like you might see with other organizations like a fraternity or sorority. We just ask that the students be put on a roster, and so that means giving them us their name, banner ID, phone number, email, and commit to showing up to weekly meetings and events. And then the banner IDs, you can add them on to the Truman club roster when we do get approved as an official organization.
In terms of your leadership structure, you said president, vice president, treasurer, and social media coordinator. Okay.
And then, president, she can appoint different people to different positions.
Jess, do you want to ask 8?
Alright, how do these events and activities support the mission or purpose of Truman State University?
Yeah, so let's go back to some of these event ideas. So we're passionate about, first off, our club has that educational aspect about continually having learning about different ideas. And because, Truman is a liberal arts institution and, they want to make sure that we have, exposure to different types of ideas and ideas that aren't necessarily in our major. We also think it's important for all the students here to have access to these ideas and these different lifestyles so they can become a better citizen and a more well-rounded person. So this is part of their liberal arts education, considering some of the ideas that our club has. And also just in general, we don't just talk about these ideas that we have, but we actually get out there and do things. We recruit, we have tables and we talk to students about these ideas that we have, and so we aren't just kind of passively sitting in a room. We're actually out there being leaders and trying to change our community for the better. Yeah, what do you want to add?
Yeah, my experience in the activities fair was we never had activities fair back in my country, Nepal. So I was very excited. So many clubs, so many tables, and I went around each of the tables. But I felt like my ideas were not matching, and there wasn't a club like a vegetarian club or vegan club, and I was trying to find a club, some club that I would closely be willing to work with, and that I didn't find in the activities fair because my issues were with the diet, my issues were with the food options. And one of my friends who's in student government, she connected me to Naomi, and I was like, oh, are you vegan? Can we not sit down and talk to Sodexo, because I want somebody to help me out. I want to go there and talk to them because I've had this issues. And the other person who's the treasurer of the club right now is also a freshman. She's also from my country, Nepal, and we both were suffering from same issues. And both of us are not in any club. We're committed to this club because we had we got our voice. I talked to the international advisor as well, and then she was like, yes, get a group of friends who have the same choices as you do. That way you can have voice. So I think it will provide a safe space for students, even if being inclusive is the most the objective of our club, and I think students will definitely feel included, because just because there's 2% or 3% of vegan in the schools does not mean that we should not overlook them or not count them. I was one of the 5% of vegans on campus, and I was trying to search networks, and since I got them, I had my voice, and I feel included when I sit down with them when we do plan for events. So I think that will be very helpful for other students that are coming up, and yeah.
Megan, do you want to ask 10? And then we'll move into any questions that the committee might have.
Okay. How will you ensure that your organization will be financially sustainable?
Yeah, so like we talked about in the financial, risk portion, there are several different options available for us to fundraise. I think the most important question is to consider what type of finances do we need for the type of activities that we plan to do. And so most of our activities, right now at least, include regular like socialization, whether that just be like eating in the dining halls together, whatnot. So these are things, resources students usually already have access to. Outreach events and tablings, for example, those really just need literature and usually like $25 to get the supplies. And to ensure that we're financially sustainable, even without like the resources of, PETA. I know there are a lot of businesses out there that we can reach out to get samples, for example, to help promote if they are cruelty-free. For example, the cruelty-free or vegan. For example, the cruelty-free event that we did, Dove donated those supplies because we needed them for our event, and Dove wanted the good PR to have their samples handed out. So just regularly like reaching out to people and training like the treasurer to do these types of things, as well as doing things like vegan bake sales or online crowdfunding.
Have you considered having dues that your members will pay?
Right now for the membership part, we don't have dues because we just want anyone to be able to join regardless of whether or not they're able to pay the dues. It's not in our constitution that we can't have dues, so I mean that's a possibility for the future. There's ways to amend the constitution. We haven't amended, right now there just aren't any dues to be called a member of the group.
Oh. Do you have a bank account or consider getting a bank account if you're getting stipends or any other additional funding? How do you plan to manage that?
Yeah, so we don't have a bank account yet. Right now, our main objective is to get recognized by the university so we can start, doing events like film screenings and things like that. Currently, all the funding just goes through whoever is in contact with the organizations that we work with, like PETA or the Humane League. But once we are, established as a group on campus, that would be one of the treasurer's duty to be the person to manage the bank account and fundraising.
So we're going to take like 10-ish more minutes. If you guys have any questions from your respective areas, now is the time. If you have any questions for us, so yeah, like our last 10 minutes or so. Let's see.
How do you plan to procure the rights to the films?
Yeah, so that was actually something I was talking to one of people who works at PETA at. They have, so PETA has, I don't know if it's called deals or whatnot, but they have agreements with different documentaries like What the Health, Cowspiracy, Earthlings, and basically they just have forms that we sign, and it allows us to show the films without, violating any copyright laws.
At no cost.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, so how would, if like, let's say you graduate and the next line of people do not decide to be like PETA reps, how would that affect the sustainability of your organization?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the reasons that we decided to work with the Humane League as well is, so the PETA rep program gives us a bunch of literature and stipends. Even if I were to like quit today and say I'm not going to be an official PETA campus rep, they do just simply send student groups like info and literature, even if I'm not in like a, even if I don't or someone else doesn't have this official title, they still send materials to student groups, and even if PETA were to disappear off the face of the earth, there are still lots of other organizations like the Humane League that provide us coaching and support.
Yep. You were talking about some kind of controversial topics and events here. What would those be? And do you have any plans currently for something like that?
Yeah, we don't plan. I don't think we don't plan our events thinking what can be the most controversial. Just being just the idea of veganism as a whole. Sometimes people can get offended by that. These ideas of animal rights and not eating animals that are currently being farmed and things like that are really weird ideas to people. Sometimes they don't understand them, and so I've never encountered anyone openly hostile towards veganism on this campus, but I do know that there are people out there who are hostile towards those ideas. So there isn't any event that we plan on doing that we anticipate on being controversial, but there are a lot of if we were to show a vegan documentary, for example, some people might somehow find that controversial.
We asked in one of the questions previous via email, has the organization considered other ways to address scenarios essentially where emotional risk of having police presence at events? Your response was DPS is not the preferred response. Ideally, nothing would escalate to that level. Ultimately, risk is one of the factors that we're going to be evaluating on. I'm glad you included it in your presentation. Ultimately, risk is also about prevention. So risk management, you have your mitigation, which is the risk occurs, what do you do about it? But the management part is more about the prevention. And using DPS ultimately isn't a source of risk management because it's just completely deferring the risk, acting like it isn't going to affect you. So how would you plan to deal with creating your own risk prevention measures?
I would say that the conversations that I've had so far with people that are non-vegan, obviously when I say that, okay, what you're eating right now on your plate is something dead, that's murder, I cannot hold them accountable just like that without being aggressive, because the point is educating them. And I've had a lot of issues with people even when I have advocated about animal rights, because obviously we all have contradicting views, and just because I consider the food that I eat is plant-based diet doesn't mean that the food they're eating that's their choice, and I cannot go against this because my liberty to speak should not harm somebody else's freedom to choose. So I mean, we are not like the club that would promote, that would force so everyone across campus or everyone that visits our table to become vegan, because it's a lot of commitment becoming a vegan, and it takes a lot. It's the person's personal choice to whether choose vegan diet or not. So while we promote, we will make sure we use inclusive language, become inclusive as much as possible by not just segregating our group as we are the vegan group and we want everybody to turn vegan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm glad you clarified what that question exactly meant. Was I think the question that you were emailing. Basically, what I was trying to say there is, yeah, we don't want to have events that are crazy and that have to involve DPS coming in and stopping anything from happening. We don't anticipate that happening. We just wanted to have that because who knows, maybe someone really, really doesn't like vegans and decides to do something crazy. But I mean, the main way to risk manage is to, first of all, plan ahead like we do at the start of the semester, think through the events together in groups of people, think about ways we can make the event process go smoother, and then talk through ways to anticipate any problems that we might have. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if we can do as much risk management as possible, a lot of times, any emotional risk people might have with us or getting upset with us ultimately isn't really even on us. We'll do our best to not, be like in people's faces and whatnot, but we do have a right to speak and to put our ideas out there. And so that is what we plan to do. We obviously don't want things to escalate into a situation where we would need to call in a police officer or anything like that. But if we do, then that's just going to have to be something we have to do. Ideally, when we're going through this planning process at the start of the semester, that gives us plenty of time to to talk through any like possibilities of things that might happen.
As far as the stipends with PETA and the support from the Humane League, do they provide you with like clear standards and regulations on what you need to do in order to secure that funding? Okay.
Yeah. Did you want me to go into them, or?
Long as you have them and we can provide them if necessary, that's fine. Anybody else? More questions?
How does your organization plan to assume the risk brought about by your affiliation with PETA?
Yeah, so, let's see. So like I was saying, people out there have different opinions of, vegans and PETA and whatnot. That's probably where most of these people who would maybe be hostile towards us would be, since we are affiliated with PETA. So currently, I know we've had a campus rep who's been promoting like PETA and doing things on campus for a couple of years. I've done at least 6 events with PETA branding, like PETA t-shirts and whatnot on campus. The most I've ever encountered is someone just saying that they don't like the organization. It's never escalated to anything like crazy, like that. So so it's not our main worry is not, are people going to dislike PETA? And just to clarify, we aren't a PETA organization. We are just an organization that uses materials that PETA sends us a lot of the time for our outreach events and whatnot. But the main way to mitigate that risk is, I found personally, and that a lot of our club members use when doing these tables, is to just be a good representative. I mean, even if you are working with an organization, even if you guys are with an organization that I maybe didn't like, as long as you were good people, being respectful, treating people kindly, I wouldn't come up and harass you or punch you in the face or something like that. So as long as we are good representatives and being respectful to people, that's really the main way to make sure people don't get mad at us. Do you have anything to add?
What position will you hold in the organization?
Vice president.
Do you have any questions for us?
Not at the minute.
So that's it. I'm gonna wrap it up there. So basically, what's next is we're holding hearings this week, and next week, you should hear from me before the break.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you. Have a nice weekend, or that's a nice week. Stay warm out there. And if you want a copy of the hearing, I can send that to you. Just let me know.
Awesome. Yeah. Could you?